Many thanks for joining us. Here are the business stories we're tracking at this hour. I am Omobolanle Adeshui. The federal government is set to make a total of 483.7 billion naira in 3 years from the electronic payment boom by way of the electronic money transfer levy. This projection was made by the Budget Office of the Federation and revealed in its 2023-2025 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper. According to the Budget Office, the nation intends to make at least 137.3 billion naira in 2023, 157.5 billion naira in 2024, and 189.1 billion naira from EMTL. The office further revealed that the government made 111.8 billion naira from the levy in 2021. Since the outset of the pandemic, e-payment transactions have soared because of mass adoption, improved broadband coverage, and increased stability of payment gateways. Data from the Nigeria Interbank Settlement System portal revealed that the total value of electronic transactions in the 4 months of 2022, 117.3 trillion naira, is already higher than the total amount of transactions in 2019, which is 108.4 trillion naira. According to the NIBSS, e-payment adoption payments surged as people transitioned to electronic channels for payments. And the Nigerian banking industry attracted $1.47 billion as capital inflows in the first half of 2022, an increase of 109.8% compared to $698.2 million received in the second half of last year and 46.5% higher than the $1 billion inflow recorded in the corresponding period of 2021. This is according to data from the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. The banking sector recorded the highest foreign inflow in the period under review compared to other sectors in the Nigerian economy, accounting for 47.1% of the inflows into the country. The manufacturing and financing sectors followed with $457.7 million and $396.7 million respectively. Meanwhile, a total of $3.1 billion in capital was imported into the Nigerian economy as foreign inflows between January and June 2022, most of which were in form of foreign portfolio investment. In contrast to the first half of last year, foreign inflows grew by 11.8%. However, when compared to the second half of 2021, they declined by 20.7%. Consequently, the inability to grow export earnings from oil export and the non-remittance of proceeds by the NNPC to the Apex Bank has caused the foreign reserve to fall further from the $40 billion threshold, currently standing at $38.9 billion. And the federal government's total borrowing from the Central Bank of Nigeria through Ways and Means advances rose from 17.46 trillion naira in December 2021 to 19.9 trillion naira in June 2022. According to data from the CBN, this shows that the federal government borrowed 2.45 trillion naira from the Apex Bank within 6 months. However, the CBN has said on its website that the federal government borrowing from its through the Ways and Means advances could have adverse effect on the bank's monetary policy to the detriment of domestic prices and exchange rates. The World Bank had in November last year warned the Nigerian government against financing deficit by borrowing from the CBN through the Ways and Means advances, saying this put financial pressures on the country's expenditures. Despite warnings from the experts and organizations, the federal government has kept borrowing from the CBN to fund budget deficits. The Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget, Lagos State, Sam Egube, has stated that the Lagos State government's expenditure has hit 675 billion naira out of the total budget expectation of about 880 billion naira in the first half of 2022. According to him, the expenditure represents 77% performance, with plans to hit 100% by the end of 2022. Egube at the 2023 Budget Consultative Forum of the Badagry Division said so far The state internal generated revenue IGR currently stands at 346 billion naira compared to 451 billion naira it recorded last year, pointing out that the IGR represents a 77% performance. He, however, stated that the Lagos state government is investing in small, medium enterprises through the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, saying the state has increased the budgetary allocation to about 100% to support over 152 businesses and persons. He added that state is continually employing in the agricultural sector, working with Food and Agriculture Organization (FAO) to create over 5,000 jobs. Nigeria's broadband usage has continued on the rise, moving up 40.9% in February 2022 to 44.5% in July 2022, a figure considered hopeful for achieving the national broadband target of 70% in 2025. Executive Vice Chairman of the Commission, Professor Umar Garba Dambata, who disclosed this at the beginning of the ongoing 3-day public inquiry on 5 telecom regulations and guidelines in Abuja, said emerging technologies and advancement in the sector would trigger the Commission to match these developments with appropriate regulations and guidelines, while stating that these strides are the result of the Commission's regulatory efficiency and focused implementation of policies and strategies of the federal government of Nigeria. Dambata said. The Executive Vice Chairman of the Commission further stated that the amendment of these regulatory instruments was to reflect current realities, one of which is the anticipated deployment of the 5th generation 5G technology and management of short codes in Nigeria, including the toll-free emergency code 112. The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, have urged the Society of Petroleum Engineers to join in the protection of Nigeria's oil assets using their expertise. The Assistant Director, Public Relations, NIMASA, Osage Edward, who was represented by the Director General of NIMASA, Dr. Bashir Jamo, made this known in Lagos. He also stated that the SPE had a greater role to play in ensuring that economic saboteurs and pipeline vandals did not have a field day plundering the country's resources for personal gains through oil theft and pipeline vandalism. He explained that between January 2021 and February 2022, so much of the nation's wealth in terms of crude oil was lost to oil theft. The NIMASA boss said the agency was ready to assist the SPE to ensure that Nigeria's natural assets were well protected. And a recent report has shown that the federal government budgeted about 874.8 billion naira for the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development from 2016 to 2021, whereas the import of agricultural goods into Nigeria during the same period was estimated at 7.81 trillion naira. Following this report, an expert has listed the factors impeding the growth of the agricultural sector. An economist, Mayoko Ilo, highlighted insecurity and lack of funding as some of the bottlenecks bedeviling the sector, thereby causing food insecurity. He spoke earlier in the day on iBrandTV's Business Breakfast Show.
The major challenge that I want to say is about agriculture is financing. The Youth Anchor Borrowers Program of Children, it's a good program of paper, but as long as those who get the actual loan are not and both are good people, they are more like middlemen. They collect the money, jack up the interest rate, and now give to the farmers. Become an issue. So that is one. Then two, I come from the part of the state that is close, not far from the border of Nigeria with other countries. You can be sure that I've been hearing reports from my townsmen over the last year or two about incursions, about herdsmen who have become violent. They used to be violent, so maybe the violent rate among them are actually those who are not from Nigeria. So, but at the end of the day, people die, people are made to run away from their farms. And government doesn't seem to be doing enough to stem this tide. So it becomes an issue for us if we are serious about what we want to do. Government will make a round table. I'm sure even if our people may not be there, but these things have been wasted in one forum or the other over the years. Let them look at those papers, look to charity and purpose, partnering them, and I'm sure it's a great place to start.